I am Wuthering playing Wuthering Waves, and I wanted to really make an updated guide on the game. The game has been out for quite some time now, and so I really wanted to break down everything for new players and really old players returning, whatever the case may be. I actually started a brand new account so I could get the new player experience, relive it, see what the deal is, and figure things out for people and just give the best advice I could possibly give. So we're going to break things down. I'm going off the top of the dome. If I miss something, please let me know in the comments. I will be doing a follow-up video for either anything that I've missed with this, but also just tips, because I can only go so far with an actual beginner's guide. So again, this is just the surface level basics, and a lot of this stuff, if you played, hey yo, get that dirt off your shoulders, Jay-Z. What? All right, if you've played Genshin, a lot of this stuff you'll resonate with. So let's get right into it. How does this work? This game is a three-party system, unlike Genshin Impact, Honkai Star Rail, other games. It's three people in a party. Only one person can be on the field at a time. Now, there are multiple weapon types and multiple types of characters. So, for example, this little girl that looks like a budget Nihita, her name is Verena. She uses pretty much a catalyst, right? So they either attack far away or they summon something to attack. Obviously, this is a sword. You know, you can have gauntlets that punch. Then after that, there are people with gigantic broad blades, which is pretty much the equivalent to claymores. You know, they take a lot longer to hit, but they're supposed to do big PP damage numbers. There are gun users. So, for example, if I pull out Chixia, you know, gun users are a little bit different. We're going to get into them after. But this is all of them right here. You know, sword, broad blade, gun, gauntlets, catalyst. Those are the weapon type classes. None of them are particularly better than each other. It completely depends on your character, how you build them, etc., etc. So like there's no like straight answer of like, oh, is a gauntlet better than like, let's say a sword? There's no answer to that, right? It's 100% character dependent, because I have a million guides on pretty much almost every single character out on my channel right now. If you need a guide, you can just go there. The one great thing that they added to the game is when you log into the game, each character is actually going to tell you what their combat role is. So it's going to say main damage dealer, it can say support, etc. And these are all of the combat roles that a person has. So for example, if I go to someone like Zhang Liao, who is a very good DPS, they're a gauntlet user, they're a main damage dealer, and resonance liberation damage, which pretty much means that's what they scale off of. That's how you get their damage to be peak. We'll go more in depth exactly of what that means in a moment. So now, but how does the game work? What is functioning? What is happening? So in terms of combat, I'm going to swing back over here for a minute. You have quite a few things on your screen. This is probably going to be the longest portion of the video, but it's important to understand this. You have your E, which is your special attack. You have something called Q, which is actually your artifact. You can turn into your artifact and do attacks with your artifacts and get special buffs from them. And then you have your R, which is going to be your burst. But there's more. You have, obviously, your health. Above your health is something called your Forte circuit. In Genshin, there's the elemental reaction system. In this game, there are elements, but they're nowhere near as important, and we'll tackle the elements a little bit. But the elements, to give you a TLDR, is really just if you're fighting, this character's electric. So I'm fighting an electric character, most likely they're going to have electric immunity, so I have to use a different element. That's pretty much the basis of the elements. There's no swirls, there's no main reactions or anything like that. Every character has their own Forte circuit. So for example, Verena's is 4 separate lines. But if I went to another character, it was 5. And everyone gets something differently. So for example, if I use an E with Verena, it will regain 1 Forte circuit. And if it actually tells you right here, it shows you what keybond you would use. So with Verena, it's saying do a charge attack, and I consume her Forte circuit, I've just healed myself. With this homie, with Zhang Liao, when it is full, it's going to say hit E. So that is another amazing thing about the combat. It's very in-depth, and everyone does something completely different. You know, this homegirl, Chixia, when hers is full, she does a bunch of charge attacks with her gun or something weird like this. She just shoots at you, you know, whatever's left in her Forte. So everyone is completely different. Now, the other thing is this little circle right here next to my webcam. Do you see it? Do you feel it, Mr. Krabs? This is your Concerto energy. Concerto energy is very important. Concerto energy allows you to swap off quickly from one character to another. So right now I'm on Zhang Liao. His Concerto energy is full. If I start a combat, which I'm about to in a moment, you're going to hear a ding, and then after that, 2 and 3 are going to light up on the side of the screen. And what that means is that you can do an outro skill with Zhang Liao. So he'll get off the field, but as he gets off the field, he is going to do some sort of animation to either potentially buff the next unit, do damage, whatever the case may be. Everyone has a different intro/outro skill. Verena is going to come in, and then Verena is going to possibly do an attack. She might heal herself. She might heal the team. That is known as intro and outro skills. So the Concerto energy is heavily tied to intro and outro. That is how you activate it. How do you get Concerto energy? You just gotta attack. Normal attacks, sometimes, you know, dodging, like whatever the case may be. You know, you just gotta attack them. It's not that deep. So, for example, if I activate this right now, I'm going to fight these homies. Notice, you heard the Wuthering, and now, bam. If I did an E. You saw I did my E and I got my Concerto energy. I go back here. He does an intro ability. I use my E here. If I dodge, I get Concerto energy up. There are dodges and perfect parries. I dodge again, Concerto energy. If I use my E, bam. And so it just is pretty streamlined. It seems like a lot and it seems overwhelming, but it's not. Now if I use my burst, right? Boom, big PP damage numbers, and I got Concerto energy from that. And so as I'm doing this, I'm Concerto energying. Swap back to Verena. Now Verena has max, you know, forte. I jump in the air. I get her forte back, her Concerto energy back, excuse me. And swap back to Zhang Liao. And it's a process. So there's a lot of swapping back and forth in between characters in this game. That is really the main gameplay loop. Like, you get someone's forte popped up, you get their Concerto popped up, you swap, do something else, swap off. We'll get into more like advanced, like quick swapping going on a little bit later. That is pretty much the basis of combat. Now, you also have T, which can be your items, and I mainly just keep my T on the grapple hook. It's literally a free Knish skill if you're playing from Genshin Impact. You're able to just go in there and Spider-Man out of sight. So it's pretty easy. It's pretty cracked. So that's like the basis of combat, right? Now, let's go over characters, skills, etc., etc. So, obviously, there are talents in this game. Now, talents are broken up into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sections. I had a count. You can't see the right side. It's just the intro skill. I'll show you that in a moment. So you have your normal attacks, you have your resonance skill, your forte circuit, your resonance liberation, your intro skill. What do these mean? Your normal attack is simply your normal attack. Your resonance skill, if you're from Genshin, is your elemental skill. Your forte circuit is that little bar on the above your HP bar. Again, this is where the main mechanic comes from a lot of characters. Above your forte circuit, keep in mind, above your forte circuit is going to be extra buffs that your character is going to get or get extra abilities. So, for example, Zhang Liao's forte circuit is whatever. I'm not going to break down his forte circuit right now, but if I go up one node, it says gain 5% electro damage after casting my skill. And then the second one is when my intuition is triggered by resonance liberation. That means when I activate my burst, Zhang Liao's resistance to interruption is enhanced. So I don't take, not that I don't take as much damage, but I'm a brick wall, brother. I'm a shit brick wall. You ain't moving me, little bro. And so that pretty much is every character's forte is going to be different. So for example, if I go to someone like Dodging, this is like their version of Hu Tao. It's actually my favorite character, low key. You go here, they have their forte circuit, and then each node is something different. Also, in your fortes, you are going to get different level ups. So above the normal attack for Dodging is Havoc bonus damage, and then above Resonance skill is just attack. Same thing here, above Resonance Liberation is 2 attacks, and then the intro is going to be Havoc damage. Now here, you can check out everyone's intro/outro skills. Underneath Forte Striker on the bottom is the outro. You don't level this. This is automatically activated when you get the character, and that is it. So, for example, Donjan's outro skill is when the incoming Resonator has their Havoc damage amplified by 23%. Damage amplified and damage amplification, that is simply just a buff. It is a damage buff. Don't overcomplicate it. The game likes to overcomplicate it and give descriptions as long as the Declaration of Independence. Again, that is what I'm here for. I have pretty much guides on everyone. It's not that deep. So, you know, for example, okay, now this Havoc element that Donjan is, you can tell by over here, right? So you go to the main page and it says Donjan Havoc. The next character that's Havoc is going to do more damage. So you would then try to pair this with a Havoc character, so on and so forth. So we get to team building in a minute, but it gives you an idea. So if I go to Verena, for example, and I go to Verena's outro skill, it says heal the incoming resonator by 19% of Verena's attack per second for 6 seconds, but all resonator on nearby teams have their damage amplified by 15%. So this is just a universal character, as opposed to Dodging, who is honed in specifically on Havoc damage. Verena is buffing everyone and all their attack. So you could see where this gets a little complicated, but also you can be creative with your team comps and whatnot, and pretty much allows you, this is where the main mechanic is coming from. Intro skills, most of the time are not as important. Most intro skills are pretty mid. There are some characters who have good intro skills, like the new character Shorekeeper, but other than that, intro skills are not that great. So half the time, and again, this is a general blanket statement, when you're leveling up talents, you would probably go based on whatever the character scales with: resonant skill damage, resonant separation damage, and forte circuit. Mainly, those would be the first two you go with. Sidebar, a little tip. The way you can tell what someone scales off of is you go to their skill, right? So resonant skill, you click skill detail, and if you don't see a specific stat, that means they scale off of attack. So for example, right now we are on Verena. It says specifically attack here, but forte circuit, resonant skill, normal attack, there's nothing here. If I go to a character like Baiji, who is another healer, and I click on her resonant skill, it says HP. Over here, HP. So she scales off of HP. So you get a good idea of how your character's physical stats scale. Now, what their actual, like, what should you level up first, that is completely dependent on everyone's kit. So you got to look into that. But there's that. And again, combat roles helps a lot. Support healer, coordinated attacks, damage amplification, coordinated attacks are literally like, think of Yolanda's and Show. Every time you attack, the characters attack with you. That's pretty much it. So easy peasy lemon squeezy. Now, breaking down elements. Again, elements are really not that important in this game. This is going to be a very quick segment. There's Glacio, there's Electro, there's Havoc, there's Aero. I don't even know. There's Spectro, there's Fusion. I might be missing one. They're really not important. Let's see. There's Havoc, Aero, Electro, Fusion, Glacio, Spectro. They don't do much. If I, right now, I'm going to put on a Havoc character, right? Now, obviously, this is in the open world, so things are a little bit easier, obviously, and not as resistant. But I'm going to take a Havoc character, and I'm going to go fight a Havoc boss. So it says, has increased res to Havoc damage. I'll still be able to do damage and whatnot, but it won't be to the same level if I'm running, like, let's say, an electric character against this. There is nothing that makes another character, like, weaker. So, for example, like, if I use electric against Havoc, the shield's going to go down faster. That's not really how the game works. So, now, this also ties into the next topic, which is boss fights. Boss fights are a little bit different, and I'm going to show you right now. They have two types of health bars. They have their actual main health bars, and then they have their shield. And the way to get their shield down is by doing those intro-outro attacks. That is the fastest way to get the shield down. So, I'm going to activate this boss right now. I'm going to dodge. Weave. Oh, it didn't even... Okay, it didn't let me dodge. So, when I punch them, it's not taking down a lot of their health. Well, it is because I'm overpowered against this boss right now. But watch this. If I do a perfect parry, it brings their shield down substantially. So parries... Which happens is when you see that gigantic glowing, circle around them, that is going to bring boss shields down OD. If I just do normal attacks, it doesn't really do much. Or, again, I'm doing an intro, and sometimes you can intro into a boss, but also parry, as you saw just there. So these are my Havoc attacks, and they're not really doing much damage. I swap over to this homie, and I would do more damage. So... keep that in mind. That's another reason why intro and outros are very important, but you do want to lock into parrying. Now, dodging helps because it slows down time for a little bit, and it does help you regain some Concerto energy, but those are the other two main mechanics. Again, so now if I want to, beat this boss quickly, I'm going to just now wait for him. Weave. Oh, I didn't dodge. Skill issue. How am I over here making gods? I can't dodge. You intro with them. Dodge, intro with them. I'm gonna intro with Verena, or I might parry it. Let's see what happens. I might go to with the sauce. Let's see. Try to parry with it. All right, I don't got it anymore. I fell off. But you get the point. You get the point. And that is how the bosses work. So this vibranium, I don't remember the exact technical term for it, I'm not going to lie to you. But you knock that down. That is the fastest way to knock that down. If you don't and you're just doing normal attacks, it will take you forever. A lot of the content in the game is timed. A lot of the endgame content is timed. You have like 4 minutes, 6 minutes, sometimes 9 minutes, whatever the case may be, depending on the difficulty of it. So you want to try to knock down the shield as fast as possible so you can get as much damage out ASAP. The other big thing I want to talk about is echo sets. So echo sets are considered their version of artifacts. It's very streamlined. It is not complicated, I promise you. There's a lot of issues with this ecosystem that I've covered in a million videos, but the actual basics is this. I believe at the beginning of the game, you only have 10 out of 10. So there's a point system tied to echoes. So it says cost 12 out of 12. If I move myself over here for a moment, you can see I have 1 4 cost, 2 3 cost, and 2 1 cost. That equals 12, right? This is the standard for building echoes, is to max out your cost and normally do this. Your 4 cost echoes are going to be your main in-slot echoes 99% of the time. These give you most of the time the best buff. So for example, Tempest Memphis. It says transform into Tempest Memphis to continuously attack enemies dealing electro damage. Increase current character's electro damage and heavy attack damage. So I would use the Tempest Memphis since it's an electro character. I would attack however many times I can with him, and then I start popping off with him, right? And it's pretty simple stuff. Nothing too crazy there. The 4 costs are infinitely farmable. You can fight them using no resin at all. You go to a boss, you activate it, you could fight it 1,000,000 times, and you do not need to claim the rewards to get an echo. That is the best part of this system. All of the echoes in the game don't require resin cost, but 4 costs specifically are infinitely farmable. I'll go to 3 and 1 in a minute and why they're not infinite, but they're almost infinite. And so that's really nice. And again, 12 out of 12, you have to reach a certain AR rank in order for you to get that. I don't remember the one off the top of my head, but at the beginning of the game, you shouldn't be worrying about echoes anyways. Don't go too crazy. Let's go to 1 cost. 1 cost, obviously all of these can go into different like elements. So for example, there's an arrow, there's a havoc, there's a few other ones like Moonlit and Lingering Tunes. So with echoes, your main hub besides your characters, it's going to be something called your databank. Your databank is going to be the 3rd tab. These are all of the list of echoes. So there's 1 for each element, but then there's 3 extra ones: Rejuvenating Glow, Moonlit Clouds, and Lingering Tunes. So most likely, the rule of thumb, 99% of the time, well, let me not say 99, 90% of the time, the rule of thumb is if you have a character who's fusion using Molten Rift, you use Molten Rift. If you have a character that is using Electro, you use Void Thunder. But it varies. If you have a support character, someone like Sanhua, who is a free unit that you get, you use something like Moonlit because they're support and they use a lot of energy. So energy regen plus 10, and upon using your outro skill, increase the attack of the next resonator coming in for 22.5 seconds. The Rejuvenating Glows for healers, healing bonus plus 10, increase the attack of all party members by 15%, and then Lingering Tunes is an attack scaling one, attack plus 10, and while on field, attack is increased by 5% for 1.5 seconds. This stacks up 4 times outro skill damage plus 60%. So, you know, for example, someone like the Zhang Liao guy that I'm using, he can run Lingering Tunes instead of the electric set, depending on how you like the main echo for Lingering Tunes or not. So I would go to my filter, go to Lingering Tunes, and if you like the way this main echo operates as opposed to the electric ones, you could use that. I personally like electro better, but it is what it is. But so there are multiple echo sets. Now, two-piece combinations are possible. I'm not a fan of two-piece in any gacha game. I would personally say stick with 4-piece sets. Two-piece, a lot of the time, you're getting most of your value from, not 2-piece, 4-piece, I'm sorry. It goes up to 5 pieces. You need 5 pieces. You could do a 2-piece, but I don't really recommend it. I recommend sticking with 5-piece sets. That way, you get the full effect of everything. Because, you know, just getting Glacio, fusion damage, electric damage bonus, you know, whatever the case may be, it's really not enough. Like, if I got an attack plus 10% on top of, like, electro damage plus 10%, that's not as much as getting the full electro set or the full Lingering Tune set. It's just a waste. So I don't personally recommend it. Do whatever you want. It is what it is. Over here, the Echo Gallery. This is a list of every single Echo in the game 236 out of 240 on this new account. And pretty much you can just go around, click on an echo and say, this is the one that I want. Click track, click detect. It will pull it up on the map for you. It'll put up on the map. Now, there is a fast travel system. I don't have anything unlocked in this account because I'm a goofy goober, as you can see. And then you pretty much just go there. Now, you ask yourself, okay, well, how do I know what's what? Perfect, you asked that. You're welcome. Your mom. I don't know why I said your mom. But so, when you go to this third tab again, it says Freezing Frost. Each one displays which echo is under each. Now, for example, this Rose Shroom, it says it's under Freezing Frost, but it can also be under the Havoc set, as you see. This is the same thing, Rose Shroom. So some of these echoes, when you go out in the wild and you fight them, like, oh, hey, I wanted a Freezing Frost Rose Shroom, but I got one that is Havoc. Go fuck yourself. That's the luck of the draw, brother. That's unfortunately how it works, since you don't need any resin. You can fight the 1 cost and 3 cost echoes until they despawn. They come back at reset for NA. I think it's like 4 a.m. Same as Genshin Impact. And so it's pretty simple. Again, no resin cost required. You just infinitely farm them. 1 cost echoes are not that bad. Here's where it gets pretty shitty. So 1 cost echoes are very simple. 1 cost echoes can only roll with, let me zoom in here. 1 cost echoes can only roll with 4 stats. Defense percent, attack percent, HP. Those are the 4 main stats that these 1 cost echoes could roll with. So 1 costs are not very hard to farm at all. And then obviously you get different substats. So the substats you can get is HP, attack, defense, HP, attack, defense, crit rate, crit damage, energy regen, basic attack bonus, heavy attack, resonant skill, which is your skill, resonant separation, which is your burst bonus. So pretty standard stuff there. 1 costs are not bad. 4 cost echoes can roll with attack, HP percent, attack percent, defense, crit rate, crit damage, healing bonus, depending on what you need. If you're using someone like Verena or Baiji, you would most likely, well, let me not say Verena, but if you're using someone like Baiji, you would want healing bonus because they go with HP and they are a healer. Again, these are infinitely farmable. You could respawn the boss as many times as you want. You want to fight a boss 300 times in a day, go ahead, you could do it. That is not a problem. The problem is 3 cost echoes. Now, I'm not going to give you my gripes about it. I'm just going to give you the objective information. 3 cost echoes have the opportunity to roll all of these. And for example, I will show you the exact problem. If I go to this account, and I'm sure I have this problem on this account as well. I'll go to a 3 cost echo of any type, so cost 3. This is the problem. This is a Havoc damage echo with an electric damage bonus, right? This is a Havoc damage echo with a Glacio damage bonus. You understand what I'm talking about? It doesn't... This is immediate trash. This is something you fodder. I'll show you how to fodder in a minute. Unlike Genshin, you cannot put your level 0 echoes into another echo. If you wanted a fodder, you have to get it to a certain level. So watch this. I will spare some resources right now, and I'm going to level up this echo. The way leveling works is different. You have these things called these tubes. And so you have to get it to at least 5. Once you get it to 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, you can then tune the echo, which is a different currency, and then after that, unlock your substat. So I get resonant skill damage. You can get up to 5 substats, but it is a bit of a process and it's a very lengthy grind. I'll show you where to get these as well. But so now this echo, okay, this is trash. This is fodder. I now want to go, let's just go to this echo. Of course, I'm leveling up a defense echo. Now I can go level this since this is level 5. I throw this in here. It doesn't even get me back to level 5 though. See, it gets me to the tip, halfway to 4, excuse me, not even to 5. So 3 cost echoes are the trickiest ones in the game to not only farm, but level. This is where you will probably be spending most of your experience and most of your time fighting your demons with your echoes. So just keep that in mind. Now, there is something called Tacet Fields. Tacet Fields is another direct source to farm 3 cost, 1 cost echoes. They do cost resin, which we'll get to resin more in a moment. But so there's a bunch of them. So each Tacet Field gives you 2 different sets. Like this one gives you Lingering Tunes, Rejuvenating Glow. This set, if I go to a Tacet Field over here, this is going to give me Electric and Fusion. And it gives you these tubes, and it gives you the tuners. And it also gives you Union XP, which is your AR rank, right? And so pretty much, you run these Tacet Fields, you get X amount of echoes dependent on your Union level, which is your AR, and a certain amount of tubes depending on your Union level. I have videos covering that as well. I'm not going to go into the specifics of the rewards of each Union level. Pretty much, Eventually, the higher you go, the more you'll get. And it's rough. Just be scarce with your resources. My biggest tip, this will be in the tips video, obviously, but I'm giving this to now. Do not level any echo that is not a gold echo. You can clear this game and all of the content in the game, other than maybe the very, very, very last act of the story, with pretty much no echoes leveled at all. Now you're gonna say, well, Ethan, how do I get echoes? Like, how do I get the gold ones? If you go back to your data bank, everyone starts off at 1. Every time you collect an echo, it is going to give you more experience towards your data bank. So it says, if you do click on this drop down, on the highest rarity drops, at level 0, you start off only getting 2-star echoes. As you increase and go to level 5, now you have a 30% chance to get blue stars, and then a 70% chance to get 2, etc., etc. So you go up, and your chances go up. Now, you start obtaining golds at level 15. However, even at level 15, it's still like 30-70%. You are not going to get an 80-20 split until data bank level 19, and you do not get 100% until data bank 21. Again, my personal opinion, I think don't stress echo grinding that much. Try to get to the highest data bank as possible. Like, grind to get to the highest data bank, but don't level those echoes. Most of the time, the echoes that you start off with are pretty dog shit, and it's not worth it. So just keep that in mind. And then this is another selection that you can do. You can do auto select. It'll take these echoes and it'll combine it. It's probably going to give you something trash. Let's see. It's all right. It's not bad. Not bad. And then that's their version of foddering. You could even do batch merge and level a bunch of them. But I'm not going to do that. I'm not leveling my echoes. I'm not going to throw in my echoes on this account right now. But so that's pretty much how that works. Pretty simple stuff with the echoes. Nothing too crazy there. So that's pretty much the basics of like the combat, the ecosystems, etc. Team building. So team building is pretty simple as well. We're going to a blank sheet here. The way team building works is you have one main DPS, you have one sub DPS, and then you have a sustain. Now, it can get a little bit more complicated, and you can run technically 2 DPSs with each other for like super duper quick swap, rotations. Where like, if Zhang Liao, you're using his burst slows down his time. His burst has 3 follow-up attacks, so you use his burst with a follow-up attack. You then swap to someone else, use their stuff, swap back and forth, and so you could do that, but you still have a sustain. So it's either super duper swap stuff, or pretty much just main DPS, sub DPS, and sustain. That's really it. Again, I have a million videos on how to build teams, characters, etc. I can only really go so much here right now. This is just general information, but that's pretty much that. Team building, very simple stuff. Very, very simple. Now, while we're on the topic of resin / wave plates, this is their consumable. This is their wave plates resin. I mean, I just said it, right? But they also have an overflow bank. So you get 1 per 12 minutes. If your resin is maxed out, you get a total of 480, which is pretty sick. Genshin doesn't have that still, whatever though. So resin is directly tied to building your characters, right? So what should you do in terms of building your characters? Because obviously you have your weapons, you have your echoes, you have your talents, and you actually have to level your echoes, level your characters and ascend them, as you see over here, because you need boss mats. What I did on this challenge account, we got very far within 3 weeks, really 2.5 weeks. And what you should be doing in really most gacha games is go for guaranteed upgrades first. Pick who you want to build. Don't spread yourself way too thin. And pick, okay, I want to build Rover. I want to build the main character. So what I'm going to do is this is going to be the person that's going to carry me throughout the game. They're going to get every element. So at some point they got to be good, which they do. They become really good DPS at Havoc Rover once you beat the story. Chapter 5 at least. And so ascend them first. They don't require boss mats the way other ones do, which is nice. You have to do something different to get that. But so maybe bad example. Let's say you want to build Sanhua, because Sanhua is a staple of the game. She's a free-to-play unit. She's a great sub DPS. Do her boss mats first. Do anything else. So for example, this requires you farming, just random open mobs. That doesn't cost any resin. And the flowers doesn't cost resin. But the actual process of obtaining these cost resin, the boss mats. You do your levels first, your talents second, and then you go to your echoes. You leave your echoes for last Don't touch your echoes until you get gold. If you are not consistently getting gold echoes, or at least getting echoes 80% of the time, which I think is data bank level 18 or 19, don't use resin on these. Now, you can use resin, obviously, on a boss. So each boss uses 60 resin. You have a max of 240. Or Tacet Fields, like I said before, these give you 60 wave. It's 60 wave plates. It gives you some XP as well, and first clear rewards. But I would really hold off on doing these. There is something called simulation training, where what this does is it gives you union level XP. It gives you money / Mora. It gives you level up XP for your resonators, your characters, weapon XP, and just a bunch of money if you need more money. So, realistically, I would go character, boss mats, I would go talents, weapon, and then after that, obviously, you mix up the weapons and talents. It goes based on whatever you need at that moment in time, And then eventually go to Tacet Fields, because until then, it's low-key just going to be a waste. Because you're just going to get you're just going to get echoes that aren't gold. I didn't run Tacet Fields. I didn't run Tacet Fields until I had 1920. Then I said, okay, I knew I can get golds, and golds only. So keep that in mind. That would be the best way to prioritize, because again, when you go for guaranteed upgrades, you might get a really great, let's say, Tempest Memphis that has a crit damage main stat, but if it has the drizzling shits for substats, it's really not bringing you any value, especially for the end game. So keep that in mind. Now, with resin, the one thing you can keep in mind is that you do get these things called crystal solvents. Now, crystal solvents are pretty much their version of fragile resin. Me personally, I hoard these. If you want to use these to level up faster, because technically speaking, resin activities are tied to your adventure rank. So if you want to level up your adventure rank as fast as possible, like for example, I wanted to go to 50 soon, I could use all of these in like one shot to try to get as much of an advantage as possible. But I like to personally save those, but you do have that as an option as well. Now, another thing I want to go over, I got to keep swapping back and forth because there's no good spot on this. Your Union XP / world level. As you do more things in the game, you and your dailies, you will get, XP. So you claim this, and it gives you Union XP, it gives you Asterite, the Primo Gems, and then the more XP you have, the higher your level will go. You would like to try to get your world level as high as possible, because you're just like Genshin, certain things are tied to world level. So for example, right now, the only way I can get my characters to level 80 is if I become world level 50. Well, they lock you to 70 from world level 30 to 50. And as you go higher, you get better rewards. So how do you get world level XP? Do events. A bunch of events give a bunch of reward levels. Now, at the moment, this patch just dropped, so it's not really showing you a lot of the events. But do events. Do story quests, do side quests. I did all of them on this account. Like, for example, this is the new main story quest, giving you 2,000 Union XP just to do it, right? Side quests, some give you 1,000. Companion quests give you 2,000. Some are only going to give you 100. But pretty much, if you just spam all of the side quests that give you a large amount of Union XP, you're going to go up pretty high. When you do clear things like Tacet Fields or bosses, that is going to give you XP as well, or the talent domain. So this would be a talent domain that does give you 300 Union XP. So, and just exploring, opening things up on the map, just playing the game. My exploration is abysmal. I haven't even opened up and everything on this map yet, and I'm already level 45 with a minimal playing, like maybe 3 to 4 hours for 2.5 weeks on this account. It's very doable. Enjoy the game, have fun. Don't go crazy with it, bro. Like, don't go insane. Just play it at your own pace and have fun. Now, one thing with Resin, tying back to them, I apologize, I completely forgot, is there are weekly bosses. So if you see, this says remaining attempts 3 out of 3. Good thing is, unlike other games like Genshin Impact, you could fight the same weekly boss over and over and over again. So if you need this weekly boss, this feather, to upgrade your Havoc Rover's talents, or whatever the case may be, you can fight it 3 times back to back to back and hopefully get as many drops as possible. That way you can min-max your character. So again, you only have weekly up to 3. It resets every Sunday. Keep that in mind. Definitely do your weeklies. Definitely do your weeklies. At some point, find whatever weekly boss you need, the Bellborn, if you need to do Scar, whatever it is, find them and do them for whoever is corresponding to your character. The guidebook is a very big help. It shows you all of the domains. Shows you all of the simulation trainings, all of the regular bosses, Tacet Fields. These are the weekly bosses, and then Tower Adversity, which is endgame, which I'll cover in a bit. Now, the final last thing is going to be Wishing. Wishing in Wuthering Waves is amazing. The way it works is you have your character banner, you have your weapon banner, a standard banner for standard characters, and a standard selector for weapons that are guaranteed. So each banner has 80 pity. You use something called asteroids. It is 1600 asteroid for a 10 pull, same as Genshin. I'll do a cheeky 10, just a light 5-star. I like 0 pity. Something crazy. Anyways, whatever. It's fine. Once you hit 10 pity, obviously you get a 4-star standard gacha stuff. But so what happens is that's actually not a bad pull. Use your asteroid, but each banner has different currencies. So as you can see, this is a Radiant Tide for your character banner. You have something called a Forging Tide for your weapon banner, and then the regular standard banner pulls Lustrous Tides. My opinion, never convert your asteroid to a type of wish. Because if you convert your asteroid to, let's say, all Radiant Tides, which would be over here a title exchange, you're going to feel absolutely silly and goofy if now I converted all of this. I have 22 pulls here, but I have no pulls here. And now I can't do anything. I'm clipped. So don't do that. Don't make that mistake. Just keep that in mind. I made that mistake at the beginning. It low-key cost me, but it is what it is. So you can lose a 50-50 on the character banner. Once you lose the 50-50, obviously you are guaranteed for the next character. The weapon banner is 100% guaranteed no matter what within 80 pulls. If you want this absolute pulsation weapon, whatever the case may be, bro, I don't know why you want it, but you want it, within 80 pulls, you're guaranteed to get it. Don't lose. There's no 50-50. There's no fate points. There is literally nothing crazy about it. It is such an amazing, amazing system. Now, to the other banner, this is your normal standard banner. After 80 pulls, you get a standard banner character. There's no focus on here. It is what it is. Excuse me. This is an amazing part of the game. You have a standard weapon focus banner. You can pick one of these 5 weapons to actually get within 80 pulls 100%. There's no questions about it. You get that pull. If you want this static miss pistols for your pistol characters, within 80 you'll get it. And this does not give up. This does not expire. You can farm Emerald of Genesis 100 times. If you want the static miss 500 times for whatever reason, you want to R5 it. Go, 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 go. This doesn't go away. So they easily have the best gacha system. They got that on lock. And then at the beginning of the game, you will get some other things, like you're going to get a standard selector where you could select the standard character that you want. And within 80 pulls, you will get them. I have a video on that, as well as which of these you should be selecting as well. So go check that out. But that's Wishing. You do have the shop. So the shop, this is the coral. This is what happens when you get actual characters. You get Radiant Tides, actual 5 stars. And when you get the 4 stars, obviously you get these. And you could buy a certain amount of wishes per month. Now, I have 3 out of 7 left, and then it expires in 44 days. You buy other things. You know, you could buy level up materials, talent materials, etc., etc. As the game goes on and you level up, you'll get special bundles. So, for example, once I reach Reunion Rank 50, I will get, all of these things. It's pretty simple stuff, nothing too crazy. Now, the end game, there's quite a few end games. Not all of the end game is out at the moment, so I can't show you all of it. But there's a few things. There's hologram boss fights, where there's 6 difficulties, and every time, once difficulty 3 onwards, you will get a gold 4 cost echo for whatever hologram you're fighting. Gives a bunch of rewards. It's just super fun. These are one-time clears. Once you clear all of these, you could fight it again, but you won't really get rewards or echoes from it. That's one version of Endgame. They do have their version of the Spiral Abyss, which is actually way more in-depth than Spiral Abyss, because there's 3 versions. There's the beginner levels, there's the middle, and then there's the hard level. And it's pretty crazy. That requires a lot of horizontal and vertical investment. It's insane. It's very good. I actually just dropped a video on that. Go check that out as well. And then there's something called Depths of Elusive Realm, which is pretty much a roguelike mode, similar to Honkai Star Rail, where you pick cards and you pick a path and you pretty much go through and do that path. And that is, it's pretty simple. It has a shop with you could buy echoes, you could buy echo skins, you could buy rewards. Like, there's tons and tons of rewards. There's tons of rewards in this game. This game is a very generous video game. Very, very generous. So that's pretty much Wuthering Waves, man. I will be dropping a tips video soon, going more in depth and honing in on some more specific stuff that would benefit people's accounts, especially beginners. But that's Woo Up. So with that being said, I love you. Mwah. I'll see you in the next one.
It's calling my name. So come on, baby, let's stop playing games.